Good afternoon and welcome to the April 21st, 2026 meeting of the Georgetown County Council. Please take this time to silence your cell phone so we can all be present for the information to be presented. Note for the record, we do have a quorum present. Please join us as Councilor Bishop Cooper leads us in the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight with a humble heart, recognizing that all wisdom, justice, and authority ultimately come from you. We thank you for the opportunity to serve, for the trust that you place by the people of this county, for the responsibility to lead with integrity and purpose. Lord, we ask for your guidance in every discussion, every decision that's going to be made tonight. Grant us the clarity of mind, the unity of spirit, the courage to do what is right, not what is easy. Help us to listen with respect, speak with grace, and act with fairness, always seeking the goodness of the whole community. Remove any spirit of division, pride, or self-interest. Replace it with cooperation, humility, and share commitment to serve. Remind us that the work we do here affects families, neighborhoods, and our future. Let us choose, and those things that we choose, to reflect you and the compassion and the accountability. Father, strengthen us to do and be good steward of the resource that you've entrusted to us. Give us the discernment to balance the immediate need with the long-term vision. Let justice flow through our action. Let us look to you. Let us look for peace in everything that we do. We also lift up the citizens of this county, those facing challenges, those in need, and those whose voice may not be heard. But help us to all that we can to hear the voice of every individual. Help us to represent them well and to serve with a heart aligned to do your will. May everything be done here tonight bring honor to you in your name. It is in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We move down to the approval of the agenda. The chair will call for a motion to move the agenda item 8A, proclamation number 2611, proclaiming May 2026 as Building Safety Month in Georgetown County, from proclamations and resolutions to presentations and special reports. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Councilor McCarty, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Charlton. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Motion passes. We now move down to the approval of the agenda as amended. Is there a motion on the floor to approve the agenda?
So moved.
By Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed? We finally got the agenda approved. Thank you. We move now to special reports and presentations. Our nonprofit spotlight tonight is Open Space Institute. Georgetown County and Francis P. Purnell Foundation are partnering to spotlight a local nonprofit at each county council meeting. This week's featured nonprofit is Open Space Institute. Ms. Erin Pate will present. Ms. Pate, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Elliott. And thank you to the Purnell Foundation for the invitation. And I think this is an amazing thing that the nonprofit sector in our area gets to do, is to present to you guys so you can hear, what's going on out in the field, so to speak. We have, I think, a presentation, a PowerPoint that you can view as I'm kind of walking through that. I've been here before. This is probably the third time I've spoken to council about the Open Space Institute and what we're doing in Georgetown County. But I thought I would start by kind of telling you a little bit about our mission. So the Open Space Institute's mission is to protect scenic, natural, and historic landscapes, to provide public recreation, conserve wildlife habitat, and sustain local communities. And we do that kind of on what I would call a landscape scale. We look at large tracts of land and willing and interested owners of those land who want to put their lands into a conservation easement or to sell their lands. Often Open Space Institute will fundraise and write grants, and we will buy large tracts of land. But our mission, as it says here, is to then sort of transfer those lands to an entity that provides for a public good. And I'll get into some examples here in just a second. But that public good is an important and distinguishing aspect of what Open Space Institute does versus land trusts that often hold those easements and hold the land too. So you've probably heard our governor in his last few years in office talk about conservation. He's really made that a priority, and a couple of quotes I've got here from him that really kind of sets a tone for our state and for our county. He says a conservation of South Carolina's natural resources is a key to our state's economic security and our future. And he warned us to be careful about unrestrained population growth. And in my opinion, I live here in Georgetown County. I'm seeing and feeling how the population growth is changing the nature of our county, and will continue to do that. But we are blessed because we have a lot of land that has been conserved and will still remain just like it is today for our great-grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and into perpetuity. And we believe that that's really important. If you could go ahead and skip to the next slide, please. So I'm going to focus just quickly on two projects that we have been involved with in Georgetown County over the last couple of years. And I just want to highlight these for you as things that we are working on, and we are always working in Georgetown County in one way or the other. So the PD Basin Initiative, maybe some of you were at the announcement of that. We were at, I believe it was Pine Tree Landing, where the governor came and sort of celebrated with us and the many partners that were part of that. 62,000 acres of forests that were conserved over in 3 different counties: Marion County, Williamsburg County, and Georgetown County. And in Georgetown County, of that 62,000 acres that were conserved, was 23,567 acres. The collaborative effort really involved about 17 nonprofits, businesses, and government. The Open Space Institute was very engaged in structuring the easement, and the South Carolina Forestry Commission will actually hold the easement and steward the property. So that project cost about $75 million to put together. It was unprecedented and historic, not only in its sort of magnitude in terms of dollars, but also in terms of acres too. The timber farming will continue to be permitted on those lands. The easement will shield the land from non-timber type development and mining and development. So that land is essentially protected, but will still allow timber farming to take place. Public access will include 7,500 acres, including 880-acre expansion of Wheatie Forest, which is mostly in Georgetown County. So the next slide is a little bit rudimentary, and you'd have to sort of get up close to it to really see its magnitude. So I apologize to those who are sitting far away. But if you're close to the map, you will be able to see the red circles indicating the lands in this large conservation project that are in Georgetown County. And you can see that they're along the Black River. Yep, there you go. Thank you. That one shows, yeah, along the Black River right there. You can see the Curvy River there. This is I can't tell you that, yeah, there you go, 34,000 acres in total, but that's over 2 counties. And if we look at the other map, here is along the Santee River, and those are the 2 big swaths of land that were conserved as part of that historic conservation project. The next project I wanted to highlight for you is the Black River Initiative. This has been going on for probably 7 years now. Let's look at the map, the next slide. This is a map of the Black River State Park Water Trail and Park Network. 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month now, the meadows, the one highlighted in red, actually opened to the public. It was the first state park along the Black River that will open to the public. There are 8 Black River State Park parcels along the Black River between Kingstree and Georgetown County. So that one's open. We had a great ceremony there. Several of you, Chairman Elliott, Mr. Cooper, Administrator Christian were there with us to help celebrate this opening in Williamsburg County. But what's next is the park that is encircled in blue called the Narrows, which will be just outside the town of Andrews. It's a much bigger property than the one in Williamsburg County. That one all total is going to be close to 2,000 acres. It's got a topography that's a lot higher than the one in Williamsburg County, less prone to flooding, and will lend itself to lots and lots of trails that won't flood. And probably we're looking at a lot of biking that will happen there. There's some actual hills out there. So there'll be some mountain biking type activities out there, I believe, when we're all done. We're right in the middle of master planning. Hopefully, we will finish that with PRT, maybe even this week or this month. So that's all coming. You'll see that there are a lot of darkly indicated parcels along the Black River. Those are all going to be public parks. And there's a total of 12 between Kingstree and Rocky Point. This slide shows you a little bit more about the parks, the larger parks and the ones that you may have heard about, but I just wanted to remind you that the Black River Initiative was launched in 2021, and it has the goals of protecting the wilderness areas along the river, to create new public access where there hasn't been a lot of public access heretofore, to support the local economic development opportunities with ecotourism and lots of visitors coming. In fact, I'll just have to back up and say that opening of the meadows about a month ago, since then, there have been lots of visitors out there, surprisingly numbers, because it is pretty rural. But the first 2 days had at least 50 or 60 people each day. And it's only opened at phase 1 at this moment. So there was a smaller infrastructure there with much more planned to happen later. So the big parcels along the way are here on this table. Black River Landing, which is in Kingstree. The Meadows is the one that opened just recently. The Black River Cypress Preserve, which probably opened first. It was the first place that folks could go visit, a nature preserve on the Black River. The Black River Cypress Preserve is privately owned and has now 3 different sites. The Narrows, which will be at near Andrews, and then Rocky Point. So all 2 of those are going to be in Georgetown County. And in fact, just this week, we have a meeting of all the park owners where we're going to start talking about how do we cooperate among the different owners, whether it's the state, whether it's Williamsburg County, Georgetown County. How do we market the trail as a whole and bring visitors into our area, into the rural areas of our state, and give give the visitors a great experience and give locals a great experience at possibly serving those visitors. Okay, next slide, please. The Meadows, I think I mentioned that phase one opening. Here are some of the amenities out there. 4 miles of river frontage there. A brand new paddle launch, a half-mile trail, which seems small, but there's more to come even later this year. A picnic pavilion, a bathroom building. It's going to be open modestly initially, 3 days a week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. There's a small admission fee of $3, and you could go to the state park website and find a dedicated section to the Black River State Park there. The next slide shows a few pictures that were taken the day that the park opened, actually, and we had folks walking the trails, enjoying that beautiful picnic pavilion that has an aesthetic that is kind of supposed to mirror the tobacco barns that you see along the road out in the country. Sort of that aesthetic, it does, I believe, do a pretty good job of that. And then lastly, here are a couple of shots from our ribbon cutting and dedication ceremony at the Meadows at Black River State Park. That took place on March 26th. We had a whole lot more people than we were expecting. We had about 130 people there. And as you can see in the lineup with the governor, you've got county council members from both Georgetown County and Williamsburg County. And Senator Sabb there as well. It was a great day, and the mayor of Andrews. We had good speakers and a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of positive sentiments around what's happening with the Black River State Park Initiative. So more to come on that. I'd be glad to answer any questions, but I really appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about what we're doing in Georgetown County.
Thank you, Ms. Pater. Any questions for Ms. Pate?
Yeah.
I had, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go
Brandon.
ahead, Bob.
You go ahead.
Seniors first.
Okay, I'll buy into that. I'll buy into that. Does General Milliken have anything to do with what you all are doing?
No, I don't believe so.
I'm surprised because he's normally in the middle of all this stuff, so.
Would welcome that, though.
Well, you know, he heads up DNR now, but he was a lawyer, but you need to reach out to that guy. He can find you some money.
Well, that's a good idea.
Right, absolutely.
He wasn't able to make it to our ribbon cutting, but DNR is involved in some of the lands along the Black River and in many other projects that we do. So thank you for asking about that.
Yes, ma'am.
Aaron, thank you for coming in front of us again. Always enjoy hearing your updates. The fee that you were talking about, if someone has, you know, a lot of people buy the parking passes to the state parks, will that cover all of
It
these?
sure will. If you've got one of those passes, it would cover you for sure. And in fact, the $3 is, I don't want to say voluntary. I mean, they ask that you do that,
Yeah,
but there's not someone there taking it. It's sort of like down in Cape Romaine, you put your money into a box.
yeah.
So they, you know, the state park tries to cover their costs as much as they possibly can. And so $3 seems pretty reasonable for the average person.
Just for the view.
Yeah. That's
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you. Thank
I
you.
was going to ask a question.
Oh, sure.
Along the same lines, National Park Service has a 4th grade program for kids to get the kids out to the different parks. Are you guys, I know that the states sometimes do the same thing. Is that going to apply? to these
I sure,
parks?
so what Open Space Institute really has been working with state parks to all along. We acquired these properties, most of them from timber farms, and then helped get it into conservation. And then went knocking on the door at PRT and said, hey, what do you think about a park, a linear park along the Black River? And we got a yes answer. So Open Space has been involved in helping design the parks, but we don't really manage the parks. So State Parks has 3 full-time staff members now here at the Black River. They have a state park manager and 2 rangers, and the 2 rangers actually were born and bred in Andrews, so they're hometown folks. And the manager came from Hampton Plantation, so they're all kind of local. They know the lands, and they'll be working on programming and probably with their home office that does a lot of the education initiatives. So
Thank you very
I'm
much.
hoping they do that. I think they will over time.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, also, also OSI, what I've learned here is that it has been one of the most effective land protection organizations in South Carolina, helping to restore the critical longleaf pine ecosystem. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We'd like to think so. Yeah. Longleafs are, historic, beautiful trees, and whenever we can restore, we want to see them replanted.
But also, what I've learned is that over 99% of the land protected will be publicly accessible forever. That's something I came up with my research. Can you tell me a little bit about that? It said over 99% of the land protected will be publicly accessible forever. And when you say forever, that's a long time. That's going to outlive all of us.
That's right. And you know what? That is why I am excited to do what I get to do with Open Space Institute, because the organization is making a legacy difference in communities where we work. We are protecting and preserving special places. Like I said earlier, that your great-grandchildren, their great-grandchildren will be able to go to these spaces, and it will look much like it does right now because it's protected from development. And natural spaces are important. There's a balance between development and protection of natural spaces, and it's a rightful and important one. But we believe that we're doing that, and the public access part of our mission is as important as the land conservation. We see those 2 very intertwined.
And one final comment I have here is since 2012, OSI has partnered with over several groups, but they have conserved more than 50,000 acres in South Carolina alone.
That's right.
Were this acres pretty much donated? Was there a particular group? How did these 50,000 acres came about?
Often it will be private landowners who are interested in selling their property. Open Space Institute has an endowment. We are able to write grants. We get money from state and federal sources. Federal has been a really big part of what has enabled us to do big conservation projects. But the State Conservation Bank has been very involved in that. And then we have a lot of private sources, people who regionally across the country who care about conservation that also make contributions toward land purchases. And what we do is once we own the property, we look for the most appropriate public agency. And we will transfer sale at a, bargain rate to a public agency, so then it can become a public asset.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that research. I'm really impressed.
Thank you quite well.
This is actually for Holly, based on the presentation. Do we need to update or make an update to the natural resource element or any of other elements that might touch on this from the comprehensive plan standpoint?
I think probably not the natural resource element. I think we've referred to the new Black River State Park in our cultural resource element. There's a lot of information there about that. We probably want to check and make sure that our future land use map shows all these tracks as conservation agriculture and that they're reflected appropriately though. But I think the natural resources is more about general guidelines of preserving open space, and this would certainly be in line with that.
Great,
Thanks
thanks.
for asking.
Ms. Pate, when we were out there, they were saying that the Narrows is gonna have the 3 rangers on site. They're gonna live there permanently. Did I hear that right, or?
I'm
did I
not sure if
imagine that?
all 3 will be there, but at least one,
Will be there
you know,
full-time?
full-time resident will, be on the property. We have a meeting actually this week with PRT where we're gonna be talking about the Narrows. We have a master plan. We just need them to sort of say, stamp of approval, and then we're off to the races. The difference here is that the state owns that property and we own the meadow, so we were able to move a little bit faster with the build out. So the meadows is the Narrows at Andrews is going to be a much bigger project, and it will take time. You'll see, the public will be able to visit and see some things. My guess is going to be in a couple of years, but it will seem small compared to the eventual build out of the plan.
Aaron, will it have more than, access through Puncheon Creek area, Gateway Road? Will it have more access to it
I mean,
besides that?
from the roadway, you
Yeah.
mean?
Or is the planning that far along?
I think that the main access road is going to be sort of where it has been, which is
What they call the Greens Creek.
right, yeah. And that landing is going to be the main landing for kayaking and paddling, and stuff like that.
A lot of fish.
A lot of fishing.
All right. Any further questions for Ms. Pate? Thank you, Ms. Pate. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
everything you
Thank
do
you
for
so
Georgetown
much.
County. Move down to proclamation number 2609, proclaiming May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Georgetown County. Ms. Keisha Black, Guest Black with Walkamaw Center for Mental Health will present. Ms. Black, you have the floor.
My muscle act like they didn't want to come. Come on, muscle. Good evening, Chairman Elliott and council members. My name is Keisha Guest Black, and I currently serve as the Chief of Staff for Waccamaw Center for Mental Health. Joining me are the Clinic Director, Doretha Frias, Board Members Amy Flagler and Debbie Heller. Thank you for issuing this proclamation designating May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Georgetown County. I'm also here to request your continued financial support by investing any additional funds to help expand mental health services in Georgetown County. Currently, residents are turning to our emergency rooms or law enforcement during a mental health crisis. During fiscal year 2025, we provided services to almost 800 patients, creating over 11,000 contacts. This funding would allow us to expand many of our community-based services, including crisis support, improving access, and reducing the strain on our emergency room systems, law enforcement, and detention centers. Investing in mental health is not only the right thing to do, but also cost-effective. Early intervention reduces hospitalizations, incarcerations, and long-term system costs. Some of the programs that I would like to share with you tonight that you would be investing in are Highway to Hope, which is our RV team, which provides community-based services to rural areas in our county. Our homeless outreach services provide services to approximately 70 right now unsheltered or unhoused individuals with a focus on mental health and connecting them to affordable housing resources. Our individual placement and support program partners with vocational rehabilitation to help patients find and maintain competitive employment and in return, give back to this community by paying taxes. Assertive Community Treatment Program. It's an intensive community program for those with repeated hospitalizations and involvement in the criminal justice system. Towards Local Care, provides support to those who were recently discharged from a long-term hospitalization and provide services within their community, close to family, who can serve as a resource and support for them. Our Mobile Crisis Program provides crisis response and emergency services with the escort of law enforcement or EMS. Lastly, our annual Mental Health Conference, a long-standing partnership with Georgetown County Parks and Recreation and their senior program. This conference is free and open to the public to bring education, awareness, and reduce the stigma as we support those in their mental health recovery. The information is in your packet that you received early regarding this conference. And if you would like to attend, disregard the registration deadline. I may know someone who can get you in. We are committed to tracking outcomes and ensuring the accountability of every dollar that you continue to give us. So we respectfully ask for your continued support and helping us to strengthen the mental health services in our community. If you would like more information or if you would like to come and take a tour, please contact any of us that are here today, and we will certainly oblige you. Councilman Ron and Ernie know how to get in touch with us. Thank you for this opportunity, and as always, my name is Keisha Guest Black, and I do approve this message.
Thank you, Ms. Black. Are there any questions for Ms. Black?
Question is, isn't there a mental health facility opening in Horry County?
It is, but that's a private provider.
It is, okay, thank you.
Yes. My question, with domestic violence seem at an all-time high for the most part, do you separate the two, domestic violence, mental health? Because a lot is happening now, more than ever. So how does mental health play an important role with domestic violence?
Good question. It plays a very important role because we receive referrals from our local family justice, domestic violence program here in Georgetown County. A lot of those individuals are suffering from trauma based on what they have experienced. And so we provide trauma services and mental health services to them. So it's not necessarily separate because we do refer to them as well when individuals come in. If they're having a domestic violence situation, we refer to that family justice as well. So we work together with them.
Thank you. And also, as a military veteran myself, oftentimes there's veterans that are homeless, they're veterans that are dealing with, they're traumatized, a tremendous amount of things that they're dealing with. And oftentimes I can see fellow veterans that may be on the streets, for example, and I'm going somewhere with this. And I don't know what the criteria that someone may say, well, take them to the VA. But there's such rejection from the veteran themselves until they're like, I'm not going to the VA for whatever reason. And so my point is that where does mental health come in if, let's say, I saw a fellow veteran, and I decided I wanted to drive them to mental health. There have to be a criteria. You got to ask so many questions. How do you help that veteran that's in desperate need?
So two parts to that. I heard you say possibly homeless. So that speaks to our homeless outreach coordinator. She would reach out to work with those who are homeless. But if you say you're going to pick someone and bring them to the center, this young lady right here, the clinic director, Doretha Frias, you would ask for her and she would be happy to assist you. And yes, there is a criteria. We see individuals who are severe and persistently mentally ill. And the veterans, I'm sure, will fall into that category, especially because most of them have PTSD. So that would be a criteria. But yes, we would have to ask a series of questions and then do an assessment and open their case and provide services.
My final question is, for the most part, also with the mental health, what's the age limit where your program helps someone? Because you may have someone at mental health. What's the earliest age? Let me ask that question. I'm going to ask Another question, what's the earliest age do you detect and you take someone into your program?
Most of our patients are from 5 until death. Yes, because we have a school-based program, so we provide services to Georgetown County School District. And we also provide some services to our Head Start programs here in Georgetown County.
And so the second part of the question is, certainly if a person's, they're much younger, let's say between the age of 5 and let's say they're high school students, and relatively speaking, they're 17. But once that person is, let's say now they're an adult, they're 18, they say, well, I feel I don't have to come anymore. But you know, they're traumatized. There's psychological problem, discrepancy that they're dealing with. How does that program, do you follow up to make sure somebody, a part of the board member, somebody, who's following up, who's checking on these people?
So yes, at the age of 16, an individual can consent or remove themselves for treatment. If they have added someone to their consents, we would contact that individual to let them know this is their decision, but we cannot make them come to treatment if that's their decision, whether it's the best decision or not. We just cannot do that. Now, we will strongly urge them. We will have them speak to the doctor to see if we can sway them to stay into services, but we cannot make them stay. If a family member feels that a person needs to be in services, there's some options through our judicial system. They could do emergency papers. They could do papers through our probate court system to see if they can get them court order for treatment, which that sometimes doesn't work as well. But those are some options that we talk with family members about if they're concerned about their loved ones, if they're making not the best decision due to their mental illness.
And thank you for the latter part, because what brings to my mind, it becomes life-threatening, not only for them, but their
The community.
surrounding, their
Mhm.
environment, their support system, because now they are at the age where they're able to make a conscious and adult decision, but the decisions are not always
The best.
wise.
Mhm.
But whatever decision that we make, we are affected by that decision. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are there any further questions for Ms. Black?
I just have a statement. I want to say thank you for all that you do. And I'd like to encourage everybody, if you take the time, she would be more than happy to take you through Welcome on Mental Health. And it's a great time to spend with her. So I encourage that.
Thank you.
Anything further? All right, if you heard the report from Ms. Black on proclamation number 2609 proclaiming May 2026 as Mental Health Awareness Month in Georgetown County, Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Counselor Charlton, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Counselor Cooper. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Proclamation passes.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Move down to proclamation 2610 honoring Mr. Jim Fitch for his 50 years of service. We have a report from ACA Ellis. You have the floor, sir.
All right, good evening, Chairman, members of council. I'm here for Proclamation 26-10, honoring Mr. Jim Fitch for his 50 years of service. I'm gonna read it into the record. I don't think he's here, but I will read it into the record for your benefit. So, whereas Jim Fitch is a distinguished historian, artist, and educator who's earned degrees from Wake Forest University and furthered his studies abroad, developing a lifelong commitment to the arts and history preservation. And whereas he has served as executive director of the Rice Museum for 50 years, providing visionary leadership and transforming the museum into a premier cultural and historical destination in South Carolina. And whereas under his leadership, the museum has achieved significant milestones, including the recovery and preservation of the Browns Ferry vessel, extensive renovations of historic buildings, and the expansion of exhibits, educational programs, and community partnerships. And whereas Mr. Fitch is also an accomplished author, lecturer, and artist who has contributed to the cultural enrichment of Georgetown County through publications, films, and support of local arts initiatives. And whereas his dedication has been recognized with numerous honors, including the Governor's Heritage Tourism Award and the Governor's Award in the Humanities. And whereas in 2026, he celebrated both his 50th year of service and 25th anniversary of his publication, Pass the Perlo, Please, making extraordinary legacy of leadership and service. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Georgetown County Council hereby honors Jim Fitch for his outstanding service and lasting contributions to the preservation and promotion of Georgetown County's history, culture, and arts, adopted this day, 21st day of April, 2026. I present to you for your consideration, sir.
Thank you, ACLS. Are there any questions for Brandon? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion on Proclamation 2610 honoring Jim Fitch for his 50 years of service. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Proclamation passes. Doing a photo, Jackie? I don't think you too. I can hold my hand out loud.
Hold your arm around me.
That's okay. Move down to Proclamation 2611, proclaiming May 2026 as Building Safety Month in Georgetown County. We have a report from Ms. Holly Richardson. Ms. Richardson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As we have in the past, we are asking you to designate the month of May as Building Safety Month in Georgetown County. We all know how important building safety is, not only as part of our everyday lives, but also and especially when natural disasters happen. The resilience of these buildings is achieved through what this proclamation refers to as our vigilant guardians. And it is referring to those such as building safety and fire prevention officials, engineers, architects, and other tradespeople that work in our construction industry. Building Safety Month is sponsored every year by the International Codes Council, and it is to remind us of these guardians' important role in public safety. The theme for the month of May this year is called Built to Last. It encourages us to get involved and raise awareness about building safety in our area. I won't read the whole proclamation, but I did want to close with a quote from the ICC Board of Directors President, who says, "While May shines a spotlight on building safety, our work to protect where we live, work, and play continues year-round." I also want to take this opportunity to thank our local code officials who work every day to protect not only our buildings here in Georgetown County, but in turn, of course, our citizens who live and work and play in those buildings. And if council sees fit to approve the proclamation, our building official is here representing those groups, and I'm sure would love a photo opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. You've heard a report on Proclamation 2611 proclaiming May 2026 as Building Safety Month in Georgetown County. Are there any questions for Ms. Richardson? Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion on Proclamation 2611.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Morant. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Proclamation passes. Thank you, Ms. Richardson, Mr. Elliott, for everything you guys do for us. Move down to public comments. A public comment period is included in each meeting agenda and shall be limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes, and no speaker may yield his or her allotted time to another speaker. A timer is provided on screen. At the end of your time, please wrap up your comments promptly. While speaking, please be sure to address council only and refrain from personal attacks. Council will not respond to any questions during this period. While a speaker has the floor, the public will respect the speaker and allow them their time to address council. Members of the public who wish to address council during the public input period should sign up with the clerk to council before the meeting. Madam Clerk, are there any speakers for tonight's meeting?
No, Mr. Chairman, no one signed up.
All right, moving right along then. Move down to our consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda that have been approved previously via the agenda approval process. Bid number 26-018, aerial mosquito adulticide and larvicide spraying service. Public Services and Mosquito Control staff have reviewed the proposal received from Williamsburg Air Service, Inc. and recommended the approval of the contract at the budget amount of $156,200. Bid number 26-004, collection and recycling of used cooking oil. Public Services and Environmental Services staff have reviewed the proposal received from No Limits Recycling LLC and approved and recommended approval of the service. Move down to appointments to boards and commissions. We have a zoning board of appeals appointment. Council Raymond Newton has recommended the appointment of Jason Gow to the zoning board of appeals representing council district number 5.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Mr. Jason Gow to the zoning board of appeals for District 5.
Thank you, Councilor Newton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Appointment is approved. The ordinance, move down to 3rd reading of ordinances. Ordinance number 2612, authorizing the issuance and sale of not exceeding $25 million general obligation bonds in 1 or more years and 1 or more series with appropriate series designations, and the issuance of general obligation bond anticipation notes in 1 or more years and 1 or more series with appropriate series designations by Georgetown County, South Carolina. Providing for the form of the bonds and the notes, fixing certain details of the bonds and notes, authorizing the county administrator or her lawful authorized designee to determine certain matters relating to the bonds and notes, providing for the payment of the bonds and the notes and the disposition of the proceeds thereof and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Attorney Watts, I think is Watson, is this yours?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Due to public notice requirements, staff is recommending we would ask council to defer this into the May 12th meeting.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Watson. You've heard the recommendation from Attorney Watson to defer ordinance 2612. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Anderson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Morant. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? Motion is deferred. Move down to 2nd reading of ordinances. Ordinance number 26-13, an ordinance to amend ordinance 2021-05 and to ratify, authorize, reallocate, and approve expenditures under capital sales tax revenues for community projects. Ms. Christian, you have the floor.
Good evening. This is a continuation of cleanup that we're doing for ordinance 2021-05 for District 7 for sales tax projects that are recreation related. I'll be glad to answer any questions. This is certainly within budget, but the way that we set these projects up as we modify them, they have to come back before council.
Thank you, Ms. Christian. You've heard a report from Ms. Christian on ordinance 2613. An ordinance to amend ordinance 2021-05 and to ratify, authorize, reallocate, and approve expenditures under capital sales tax revenues for community projects. Is there a motion on the floor?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of ordinance number 26-13.
Thank you, Councilor Moran. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed? Ordinance passes. First reading of ordinances. Note for the following ordinances to be read into the record by title only. Ordinance 26-14, an ordinance to make appropriations for ordinary county purposes for Georgetown County for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026 and ending June 30th, 2027. To provide for the expenditure thereof, to provide for revenues for the payment thereof, as well as adjustments to various fee schedules. Move down to approval of minutes, for the regular council meeting minutes for April 7th, 2026. Is there a motion on the floor? So moved by Councilor Charlton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Cooper. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hands. All opposed? Minutes are approved. Is there any further business to come before council at this time? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Councilor Morant. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Anderson. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed? We stand adjourned.